morning, everybody. As head of Bell Labs, I often get requested to comment on the future of technology. And predicting the future is very difficult, even with the help of some smart people. Back in 1999, the Chinese premier, Zhu Rongji, hosted China's first ever high-tech fair in Shenzhen. In our flight to China, there was a delegation from our company, two Nobel laureates, Stephen Chu, Horst Romer, head of Bell Lab research at the time, out of Nature Valley, and myself. We were deeply engaged in the discussions about the difference between human brain and computer. The one thing that we have agreed on at the time was, while human brain is limited not by its processing capacity or memory, but its ability to dissipate heat at about 20 watts, whereas computer is not subject to such constraint. Now, fast forward to today. Steve Ballmer talked about the cloud computing. Okay? In the cloud computing, there is data centers, and then there is a network that connects to those data centers. Those big data centers are limited not by its processing capacity or a storage capacity, not even its physical size, but its cooling capacity. It is limited by the same factor of a ability to dissipate heat. So in a hyper-connected world, the world has become, in a collective way, similar to human brain. Now, in this conference, we are challenging ourselves to talk about the coexistence and the better future. But like I said, predicting the future is very difficult. And what we can do is actually use our influence to actually shape it for the better. Now, many of us talked about how the wave of new innovations is changing our life and our society so fast. But if you look at the past, this isn't the first time we are facing situations like this. The changing in technology impacting us and our society has always been there, and we have adopted back then, we are adopting now. For instance, if you were to gather together 140 years ago, we would be talking about the new telegraph cable laid across the Atlantic Ocean. We would be speculating about societal change that resulted from being able to communicate in seconds rather than months between US and Europe. So for me, the coexistence part, I'm confident that will happen. But the more interesting part is, how do you shape our future for the better? Now, the question that I want to ask is, can we actually shape ourselves? I want to quote a Nobel laureate neuropsychiatrist, Eric Kandel. He once said, quote, "Humanity's ability to alter its own brain function might well shape history as powerfully as the development of metallurgy in the Iron Age." Can this be possible? Can we actually alter our neural systems and alter its functions? Several studies show that the answer is yes, it can. Now, Gary Small in UCLA conducted a study in 2007, study of the brain patterns of a group that is familiar with the web browsing versus a group who are not. What you see in the slide is the brain area of the activities that are associated with the web browsing over and above the activity associated with simple reading. Clearly, you can see the new pathway of the people who were net savvy in the brain that as a result of exposure to new presentation technology. So, for me, the technology making impact in how we wired, how we think, and the way we live our lives is, the way it has been. But the talk that I want to focus on is not about impact, but our benefit. How technology can benefit our body, our mind, and our soul. Among the most basic things, what we care about most is the physical well-being and increased longevity. And technology has a way of benefiting that in many ways. For instance, the single biggest contributor of the improvement of longevity in the 20th century is purification and distribution of clean water. That contributed to approximately 2/3 of the increase in longevity. Going forward, those technology can be very simple to extremely complex. Let me offer some example. In Rwanda, a mortality rate is among the highest in the world. And not surprisingly, the ratio of the number of physicians per inhabitant is very high. It's 1 to 50,000. Think about that. That's about a factor of 100 worse than that is as in Korea. And as a result of it, the infant mortality rate and the child related to childbirth of Rwandan women, especially in the rural areas, has been very high. In 2010, the new technology was trialed that substantially improved the mortality rate associated with childbirth. Matter of fact, it declined by a factor of 3. Now, if you were to ask, what kind of technology that can create such a remarkable result, well, answer is text messaging. Yes, simple text messaging. Approximately 450 healthcare workers were trained to a new trial program called Rapid SMS. And they were given a task to track and counsel approximately 14,000 potential a pregnant woman over the course of 1 year, and then using SMS. The result of the 583 births, there has not been not a single death, not a single mother, not a single child. So text messaging, simple text messaging arriving on an inexpensive community cell phone saved lives. Small device can also save lives, very small devices. The device you see here is an implanted device that goes into your blood vessels that were damaged by aneurysm, for instance. It is developed by by Purdue University. And it provides a warning signal when the pressure gets too high, obviously wirelessly, and it gets powered by sound. Once relegated to science fiction, implants are becoming a commonplace. In addition to pacemakers and ocular implants, we have implants that help with your joints, and the implants that help you stimulate the damaged part of your brain. There's a company called InPace that has an implant for your stomach that measures food consumption. It triggers electrical pulse to give you the sense of fullness for obese individuals. In the labs, there are micron-sized radio-enabled glucose sensors are being developed. These sensors can trigger implanted insulin pump when condition warranted. So welcome to the new frontier of networking, somatic network. In times, with all the sensors in our body, we're going to get the better awareness about our physical conditions, similar to how our automobiles have had over the past few years. Of course, many work needs to be done. It's a fertile ground for research for many more years to come, but it's coming. Now, we are a human being, and we need more than merely a physical well-being. We are social creatures with an instinctive need for affiliations. We create a community to bond us together, and evolve community mindsets around the shared belief, shared value, such things as fairness, justice, environment, and education, and whatnot. We create institutions to fortify those shared value. Among those institutions, that educating our children, managing the knowledge is most vital in that regard. But we are living in an information-rich society, and we are faced with a wash of information. Let me elaborate. If you were born in the beginning of the 20th century, the amount of information that is created and stored is basically doubled over your lifetime. Today, that doubling happens every 2 to 3 years. You know the source of all this information. You got a smartphone that's generating so much demand, and we are expecting a 30x increase in traffic in the wireless access over the next 5 years. Facing with this kind of information tsunami, our response has been a number of things, but one thing that we have done is increase the level of specialization. It happens in our universities, it happens in our professions. If you're an engineer today, you need to not just major in, say, electrical engineering, but you need to specialize in some area, like, say, optics, maybe subspecialize in modulation technique. Same thing happens in medical field. Good friend of mine got into a car accident a few years back, and after that, he's having a devastating headache. So he went to see a doctor. After comprehensive exams, he went to see lots of different specialists. After about a dozen specialists, 4 or 5 years later, he still was having this devastating, debilitating headache. So he grabbed me, says, "Jeong, nobody seems to know what's wrong with me. I actually think I'm going to die." And I didn't tell my wife. He was really serious. So I said, you know, won't you go see my classmate from Johns Hopkins? He's actually not a specialist, family practice physician, but very, very bright. And this doctor reviewed all the record, and he said, well, he has an asymptomatic case of a migraine headache. Nobody knows exactly how it happened. Maybe it's a combination of old age, stress at work, maybe even triggered by the car accident. So all these specialists only saw the problems from their own perspective. They only saw trees. They did not see the forest. So I would like to offer some wisdom offered by the philosopher Eric Hoffer. He said, in quote, "In times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists." If you think about the education, from an employer perspective, it's very important that students really know how to learn, and the profile of that is becoming more important in evaluating the potential than what knowledge that person has in terms of a graduate certificate. This film, many of you may have seen, Matrix, offers a futuristic scenario of how we actually educate or connect with knowledge. The main character, called Trinity, needs to fly a helicopter in a virtualized environment, but she doesn't have the piloting knowledge. Let's see what happens.
Can you fly that thing?
Not yet.
Operator.
Tank, I need a pilot program for a B-212 helicopter. Hurry. Let's go.
Yes, this is science fiction. But what we see common today was dismissed as a science fiction in the past, right? So before you dismiss this kind of a knowledge transfer model, please consider that our society is not necessarily adverse to electronic stimulations or pharmaceutical to enhance our learning abilities. For instance, there's widespread use of Adderall to help with learning deficiencies like ADHD. Although this kind of stimulants and pharmaceuticals are used strictly for what we consider diseases today, please remember, plastic surgery was considered strictly associated with a disfigurement not so long ago. So, perhaps not as radical, but even students in today's universities actually have options to learn differently than where you and I have been taught in school. For instance, some of the leading universities actually offer online courses in school like Stanford, MIT, Harvard, and so on. But it's not merely more than merely streaming lectures. The student can actually augment their knowledge lecture at the same time getting supplemental knowledge from the internet. Now, the trick is to actually get the right kind of information at the same time so that it is very effective. Maybe a more pertinent example for you, maybe when you are driving a car to go to some place, you have a navigation system that you use. It gives you directions, but if those navigation system is networked, it can give you real-time traffic conditions. And so in a way, it provides you context-based information. Now, this context-based information requires collecting data about you, collecting data about your environment, and it requires analytic engines that analyze all this data to provide the recommendation systems, recommendations, and so on. And then to scale this thing to a global size, you need an inference engine to resolve any kind of a conflict that results from different policies and whatnot. All these areas are at the beginning stage of development. It needs to further develop, evolve, and improve. Now, touching on the physical and mental well-being, I want to touch on the third area, soul. This is kind of a difficult terrain to navigate because there is no universal agreement on what constitutes that is good for your soul. Nevertheless, people try to quantify in the concepts such as happiness, satisfaction, and so on in terms of index. When I first took my job in 2005, I actually had a brainstorming session with my executives on how to bring 1 billion people from rural India into online. And one of my Indian executives says, why ruin their life? They're perfectly happy today. And we all laughed. We all laughed at his half-joking remark. But deep inside, we know he was telling something that was felt true. Technology doesn't necessarily bring happiness. It does bring convenience, but at the same time, it could bring some stress and anxiety, right? So what is the stress and anxiety in the online life? When you go on the internet, do a search, you don't necessarily know the information you get is accurate. You don't necessarily know when you are talking to somebody, if the person on the other side is who or she or he claims to be. When you do a transaction, you don't really know. The data get collected from the transaction can be misused by some other applications. For instance, if this guy named Bob buys a book online, first thing that happens is that those transactions get captured in the database, and then that combined with the other transaction the person has bought online, and provide a recommendation on what other things that you may want to buy. And that's a good thing. But this data could be sold to some company and sold to another company, and then insurance company use that data to figure out how much insurance premium Bob must pay. In that data, there is information about the Bob buying cigarettes many years ago, even though he quit smoking long time ago. Now, the problem with this story is that Bob has no idea what information gets used for determining some of the things that he needs to know. He didn't have control of this piece of data that belongs to him. So one way to deal with this, and there are many ways, is use of metadata. Metadata concept is very simple. Metadata is about giving information about the data, where to send, who can use it, on what applications, or how long it will live. Think of it as an expiration date on your food label. Now, bigger issue through this example is personalization versus privacy. Clearly, we want personalized service. Okay, network, analyze your buying habit, your viewing habit, and have your, a profile to give you a better personalized service in everything that you do. At the same time, when that happens, you lose your privacy. Okay, it's an issue. We as a human need both personalized services, but at the same time, privacy. So, actually, what's really needed is a privacy control. So I suggested a metadata as maybe one way to go about it. There may be other ways. This is a critical issue. We need to go forward. So we all know technology is a double-edged sword. Okay, one side that can lead to tremendous benefit, the other side that can lead to devastation. If you take an example of automobile, for instance, everybody knows the benefit of automobile. It allows you to go to the job that is farther than your walking distance or horse riding distance, but it also has a significant negative impact. It had become one of the biggest contributors to pollutions. 1.2 million people die from car accidents every year. 15 million people get injured by them. You can make similar observations about the social media, bioengineering. The point that I want to make, however, is the impact zone getting bigger and bigger with the newer technologies. So if I want to borrow a word from Isaac Asimov, he says, quote, "Science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom." Now, some of the business schools have adopted his teaching and include ethics as part of a core curriculum for MBA classes. Business have figured that out. Business ethics is just as important in survival of the business as accounting or marketing. However, in the field of engineering, we have been crowded out. These kind of things are crowded out by needing for ever expanding knowledge base. So I have a specific recommendations to say we need more than technology to make it our future better. We need to integrate ethics of technology in everything that we do. So I suggest that our educators consider requiring course in ethics as part of any technology-related degree programs. For our business leaders, as SDF is doing, this week, include part of ethics of technology as an important topic to be treated. And finally, for our government leaders and policymakers, put ethics in part of overall structure of the national science and technology programs. Now, I want to conclude my remark by making maybe 3 points here. Okay, I don't expect all of you to agree with what I said, but I said 3 things that perhaps you should consider and perhaps discuss more. First thing that I said is somatic network. We see sensors everywhere. We see sensors in the traffic intersections. We see sensors in our automobiles. We have sensors at home. It's coming to our appliances. Our body's next. It's coming. Okay? What does that mean? We need to think about that. I talked about living in a hyper-connected world where everything that you do gets analyzed to provide the personalized service. And yet, we value privacy. I suggested metadata as one way to deal with it, but there are others. Nevertheless, we need to deal with this issue. Otherwise, we'll have a difficult time making progress. Third, I said, ethics is important. Technology empowers individuals. Just think about what one bad person, very intelligent person, can do using technology. They can get in the internet and whatnot to harm society. We need to educate our children in ethics of technology. We need to develop a global framework to deal with and detecting and responding fast to bad actors in the future. So, these 3 topics, I think it's a very big and complicated subject. Clearly, I don't have time to go in detail, but I hope at least you thought about this and that I have provoked your thinking, that you will continue to talk with your colleagues here and when you get back to your office. Well, that concludes my talk, and I'll entertain a few questions. Thank you.
네, 김 사장님 좋은 말씀 감사합니다. 자, 지금부터 김정훈 사장을 모시고 질의응답 시간을 갖겠습니다. 높이 손을 들어서 질문을 해주시고요. 질문하실 땐 꼭 소속과 직함 그리고 성함을 밝혀주시기 바랍니다. 질문은 가급적이면 짧게 해주시면 감사하겠습니다. 질문 있으신 분 손 들어주시죠.
저는 특히 기술적인 부분에 대해서 윤리적인 측면을 우리가 간과해서는 안 된다 이렇게 말씀하셨는데, 사실 윤리라는 것이 어떤 기술에만 있는 건 아니지 않습니까? 우리 생활 전반에 걸쳐 있고 어떻게 보면 우리 사회가 추구하고자 하는 목표하고도 관련이 있는데, 이런 부분을 갖다 기술과 따로 이렇게 띄어서 생각할 수 있는지요? 아니면 우리가 하나의 사회 통합체로서 접근해야 되는 통합적인 윤리에서 이렇게 먼저 생각을 하고 그가 기술을 하나의 수단으로 봐야 되는지, 그게 하나의 첫 번째 질문이고요. 또 한 가지는 과연 이 기술이 먼저 윤리를 결정하는지 아니면 우리가 먼저 윤리를 잡고 그에 따른 기술적인 측면을 보완해야 되는지, 그런 측면이 지금 너무 기술이 빠르게 발전되기 때문에 저한테는 상당히 혼란이 가져다는 부분입니다. 그래서 이 부분에 대한 어떤 좋은 답변을 기다리겠습니다. 감사합니다.
So a question is whether ethics of technology should be included in the greater ethics discussions. I think those things are happening. I mean, we live a life, and these are part of ongoing discussions as civic leaders, government leaders, and whatnot. But the ethics of technology is something new, and this conference theme is for the better future. And the hope for the better future is not going to happen if you don't actually deal with this issue. Because think about it. I think Kevin Kelly can perhaps validate some of the things that I'm going to say. But if you actually follow the Moore's law, right, by year 2020, $1,000 will buy you computing power equivalent of human brain. But if you keep following that path, by year 2060, $1,000 will buy computing power equivalent to the entire human race. Think about what one person with $1,000 can do with that much computing power. I'm not saying we're going to continue Moore's law, but it will continue to improve. So we do need some sort of a framework and collectively decide to go against potential bad actors. There will always be bad actors. And so we do need to educate the importance, the power of the technology if it is used in a negative way, and to develop a somewhat global framework So that's what I always say. With regards to which comes first, it's catch-22 situations. I think I don't think that's as important whether technology influence the ethics discussions or vice versa. Maybe in this area there's a little bit more touchy. It's complex, definitely in the bioengineering with nanotechnology and decoding of human genetics. Personalized medicine is coming along with many other things. I think it's really important that we actually discuss this. And I think a forum like SDF provides a very good platform to actually discuss, bring the best mind, because at the end, it's for sure people have different views. But that's how we make a progress. Because of different views, we discuss it, and then find a path forward from that point.
네, 고맙습니다. 지금 말씀하신 대로 보다 나은 세상을 만들기 위해서 우리가 기술의 발전과 함께 기술의 윤리 또 우리 다음 세대들에게 기술이 우리에게 얼마나 행복을 가져올 수 있기 위해서 어떤 노력을 해야 될지 관심을 많이 기울여야 된다는 말씀 공감할 수 있을 것 같습니다. 좀 더 많은 질문을 받았으면 좋겠는데 또 다음 세션이 기다리고 있어서 김정훈 사장님과의 질의응답은 여기서 마치겠습니다. 다시 한번 김 사장님께 박수 보내주시면 감사하겠습니다. 고맙습니다.